Oh, oh, we're just in it.
We're just
All
in
right.
it. Yeah,
All
realize
right, there we go.
didn't get the intro in, so we're going to tell a trend to Frenzy Freestyle Sunday.
Like, forget it. We ball. There we go.
That's it. So, yes, storms hitting everyone. Storms hitting us the last few days, and now currently hitting Mr. Magnus, who got your power back, and right in the middle of Stenenbach Arts. So he's in the middle of the storm right now.
Yeah. Oh, you also can't hear him.
Oh, you mean we get some peace and quiet tonight? All right, we can have a decent stream.
very, very good use of the visual only medium.
That's right.
Well, I'm glad we're on Teletran. Oh, those are the fingers you use. Okay.
I have unmuted him. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I hope your emotional support alligator bites off your junk.
And Mario
That's
says,
your job, you know it.
We were having some dime-sized hail, and I said the power went off for about 10 minutes.
Sounds terrifying and exciting at the same time.
Yep, we're back.
My house is built into a hill, so I just went downstairs. You know, it's
like just as you were going to show your reveal, like the power goes
in
out.
the Midwest. Yeah. I wish I could.
Yeah, I can finish that if we want to.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I want to know what's in the boxes.
What's in the box?
So what all did y'all see? You saw Galvatron?
Yeah,
and DKO1, right?
Yeah, and
Megatron?
Nope, no Megatron.
I didn't get to the Megatron?
Nope.
But
now you shall.
Oh, you started talking about him.
Oh, yeah,
you
did.
Disappointed about his size.
About how small he was.
Yeah, he's definitely going to look. He's definitely going to look weird standing beside this.
This right. Optimus. It's a little bit one-sided. Well, he scales with the Studio Series Optimus from that movie that they did.
And then I
had on hand a minute ago, but I don't know where I put him. Oh, two Generation 2 breakdowns. That's a particularly noteworthy figure because Generation 2 Breakdown was the very first BotCon exclusive, so they're making a new version that everybody can buy instead of like the 300 people that were there in like 1994.
Oh.
And then 3 gargoyles. So we have Lexington, which is the hard one to find.
Okay.
The little one. Oh yeah, Bob, since you like gargoyles, fun fact, Keith David that plays Goliath, he does the voice of Grimlock and Spark.
Oh, he does he?
Mm-hmm.
I never got
Oddly
that far
enough,
in the show.
He sounds younger than he does as Goliath or in HBO's Spawn.
He was also in the remake of Vanishing Point.
Was it any good?
He played a good bad guy.
Oh, okay. To be fair, if you're getting Keith David, that's a very...
Yeah, it's a win already.
Yeah.
Damona? That what her name was?
Yep.
Yeah. Wasn't she voiced by Marina Sirtis, a.k.a.
The lady that played the counselor lady in TNG. Star Trek
Marina Sirtis.
Yeah. For some reason, like, a large chunk of the Next Generation cast was in Gargoyles. I guess they just move in a herd, you know?
Deanna Troy.
The guy who played Riker played the main bad dude who owned the building you were on top of.
I don't know if Dwarf's going to like this one or not. I think he would, because it's a combination of a couple of things that he likes. But this is what I found in the wild.
Oh, Hot Wheels Optimus.
Love wild finds.
I've never in my life seen any of these Hot Wheels Transformers in the wild yet.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
They're if they're not on the aftermarket, their Hot Wheels are affordable enough. I would probably just grab one on the spot if I ever saw one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, because the aftermarket's going to be marked up.
Yeah,
I think it was $9 and some change, just under $10.
Yeah, so like 35 Canadian, which I can still swing.
When Prime Killer has a few messages where he says, "Screw you, Toy Warp." He also says, boo, Toy Warp. And then says, Mr. Magnus is better than Toy Warp. Proceeds to also says, boo, Toy Warp.
Look,
You got to start doing the Statler and Waldorf thing and come up with like clever ways to take us down.
Yep. RG Eagle says, "What's up, gang? Baby Optimus looks too cute beside Mega Optimus."
Baby Megatron and Mega Optimus. What did I do?
Yes,
oh,
Toy
here he
Warp.
is. Yeah,
You know
the
that
Studio
picture I had
Series
of the
Optimus here.
Deck, those are the trains. There goes the one I found the other day in the 5-pack. I think it was on that post you like. It is the bottom right version.
Okay.
It'll probably take a while. I like to get that gold one of it. Then the one where this part was this clear gray plastic is all clear, so you just have the chrome shining through. Then the one where the parts that's on this one are chrome that are in black, just because it's the reverse of the majority of them. I like to get. That's the other train, so I still got to get the first train he did. This is the
Studio Series. Yeah, Studio Series Optimus here. This is what that Megatron is supposed to scale with.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, right here. Megatron in his tank mode because I was transforming him, but you can see he's roughly the same size. This is who he's meant to scale with instead of that giant, the giant Optimus that you got. They're kind of on the small side, but like they all scale with each other.
Cool. And Prime Killer also says, "It's my birthday tomorrow. That means one more year of Toy Warp decaying."
Are you in like a picture of Dorian Gray type scenario? Glad you like that one. Like you get to keep your youth in exchange for the other one getting worse.
There you go.
I would do that for my kids, yeah.
And Mario in the comments says, "Guys, I want to have Breakdown be reissued again in its G1 colors, but a little change is the new doors for the car mode from Menasor toy color box set and the G2 repaint to make it more Lamborghini."
I haven't looked at these guys closely enough to know what the differences are, but I'm sure you're correct.
Well, I think from whatever recent release of the Stunticons Minnesota set, that's the box set basically has the original G1 design colors, but apparently I guess it's either Wild Rider or Breakdown. They weren't able to use the same vehicle as they did back in '86. So
Yeah.
a lot of people are saying they won't buy that one for that reason.
Well, then they'd have to get the licensing, and no mainline guys that aren't Studio Series bother with the car licenses because it adds layers of complication to putting the figures together.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to license the car modes, then you need the car company gets to have say in how the figure is designed. So you'll have things like they can't transform in a way where, yeah, they can't transform in a way where it looks like the car is coming to pieces. Like the car's lines can't be broken up. The car has to be painted instead of bare plastic, so that eats up a bunch of paint budget, stuff like that. So that's why they often don't bother with the licensing these days.
Got it.
They're like, we'll just make it look kind of like a Lambo and focus on everything else also being well done.
I mean, to be fair, it just kind of looked like a Lambo in the show, too. It never had the detailing that Sideswiper Sunstreaker had.
There you go. You just claim tune accuracy. Yeah. Like, where is he here? Like Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Mirage, kind of a weird, chunky looking figure instead of the svelte guy that was in the movie. And half of the reason he looks like this is the Instagram post that the designer did was basically like really politely saying it was a real pain in the ass to work with Porsche on this figure because they were like, he's got to transform this specific way. You have to coat his exterior entirely in silver paint. You can't break up the car lines. Just stuff like that.
Which is really wild because, Porsche isn't exactly in the business of selling what year was that? 86 9/11s.
It's an interesting combination of numbers.
Yep.
But yeah, that's why they're like, if we're not trying to specifically sell it as on the likeness of the car mode, we're just not going to bother paying the fees and working with them and stuff.
So RJ Eagle says, so was the title of today's podcast Grimlock is the leader of the Autobots of the Dinobots or leader of the Autobots? Dun dun dun.
If you were reading Marvel, he's been both.
This is true.
Right.
So
He had a disastrous reign of leadership in the Marvel comics. Like, it did not go well for him.
no.
There was this, Optimus is dead. He sacrificed his life over a video game. It makes sense in context. And they're like,
Got that
who's gonna be
issue.
the leader? Yeah. Grimlock saves a bunch of humans from Trypticon, and he's like, I've learned the value of this. And they're like, all right, we're going to make you the leader. Immediately goes mad with power, starts wearing the crown. This is when he stops speaking like a normal person and starts saying me Grimlock, which they don't really explain why. And he's like, becomes a dictator, and then Blaster and Goldbug are like, forget this guy and go rogue, and he spends his time chasing them instead. And eventually Optimus gets resurrected as a Power Master and just straight up steps in and is like, I'm taking over, and here's Fortress Maximus with me to help consolidate this. And Grimlock's like, I can't fight both of them, fine.
Actually, now when you think about it, how many issues or how many years apart was Optimus not in the comics? Because essentially, him becoming a video game in the earlier set, and then for him to really not come back until he's a Power Master, like that was a couple of years at least.
Yeah, well, he died in the comics around the time the movie came out, because it was like, well, they're doing it, so let's do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been 86, and Power Master Optimus is 88. So I guess a couple years in there,
Yeah.
a year and a half maybe, long enough for Grimlock to have a whole time as leader.
So before we get to our main topic of Grimlock, here we've got Ken and Ryu throwing the classic fireballs, and then Grimlock throwing his fireball.
Goku.
That's called a Kamehameha.
Hadouken.
You'll get. It says fireball spin kick, which one stream, which I think will be cool, is we're going to have to talk about the different names and the variations between some of the G1 characters that we know in a sense of their US names, and then when they have their Japanese names. I mean, the one that a lot of people will always, actually one or two between, say, Power Master Optimus in the US, but has got Jinrai in Japanese, and same with the Seacons and Piranacon. In the US, he's known as Piranacon, but in Japanese, I'm trying to remember what name he goes by.
King Poseidon.
That
He
is
said
it.
like that when he combined in the anime.
So there's a handful of them that have these dual names, and somewhat the personalities, and a couple are different or just kind of the same. So it'd be nice to figure out what the backstory is on that.
With Jinrai, it was like, we have this Optimus-looking figure that we want to put out, but we killed him again in Headmasters, and we don't want to bring him back again. So we're going to say he's a different guy now, so we can still sell the same toy.
Over and over again.
Yeah. Which, Master Force was a pretty interesting, unique show, so I wasn't complaining too hard about that choice. Yeah. So, Grimlock, because Jess likes dinosaurs, Grimlock is one of her favorite characters, and so I'm forbidden from selling any Grimlocks I acquire. So he might actually be the character that I have the most versions of. I mean, Optimus might have him beat just because they make a lot of Optimuses, but he's probably a very close second place. And I could probably gather them all scattered around my room. Yeah.
So that was Studio Series 112 is the Optimus Prime that I want to go with this one, right?
Yeah, same scale and everything.
I just ordered him.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So that is G1 Grimlock there, Transformers animated Grimlock, Robots in Disguise Grimlock, and I don't know if that's Cyberverse or Earthspark Grimlock because they're kind of similar looking. One of the
I
two.
believe that's Earthspark.
Oh, okay. Like I said, I didn't make it that far into the show because I didn't like it very much, to be honest. I gave it a shot. I gave it half a season, and then I was like, it's not for me.
There you go. Well, actually, I will throw this over to Sedum first. What can you tell us about the different version of Grimlock that you know of?
So, since I've been watching Earthspark Season 1, which is basically the good part of it, from my understanding, Season 2 and 3, they changed writers and Hasbro fumbling the
Oh,
ball.
yeah.
But and then
All the writers left, and the show's budget got cut, so apparently it falls off.
RID Grimlock there. So something I'll comment on them, and then lesser extent Cyberverse and the Beast Wars Grimlock in case I lose power. So Earthspark Grimlock and Cyberverse Grimlock, they both, instead of being leaders in the traditional sense of a leader of Dinobots, they have initially unrelated bots. In the case of Earthspark, someone who's just a protoform without a alt mode in the form of Jawbreaker, who kind of idolizes in both series that idolize Grimlock, look up to Grimlock, and so instead of having a leadership role, he has more of a mentor, teacher-student type role in those two series to his younger counterparts. And I know Anthony probably could comment on the Cyberverse Grimlock's relation with his Dinobots, because I hadn't seen it in a while, so I can't really remember. I just remember they're younger, they like him, they idolize him for whatever reason they did.
Cyberverse Grimlock was a fun take on the character because they did sort of something a little bit like Fall of Cybertron, but played for comedy, where in his robot mode, he is like British and smart and really polite and uses big words, and then he becomes like a brute when he changes into his dinosaur mode. And he's like a legendary warrior, and then we meet the Dinobots towards the end of the show, and they're like, "Oh, we're your biggest fans. We've been following all your adventures."
Yeah, so with them, it's more like literally like stalkerish fanboys and girls. The girl being Swoop. Cyberverse Swoop was a female, but the rest of them are guys. Then in the case of Earthspark, whereas what Fear and Courage just described with the whole Grimlock when he's in robot mode versus dinosaur mode, it's used in that series as well, but not for laughs. Like that Grimlock, the Earthspark's Grimlock, he's like suffering from PTSD from being locked into his dino mode and being used against his will to forcefully fight like an underground cage matches of sorts against other Cybertronians by Mandroid, who has like his berserk tech that can make like Transformers either go berserk or have them where you can control them and whatnot. And like when you meet Jawbreaker beats Grimlock, the guy who plays that little orange hard-headed dinosaur I showed a few times on streams with the owl from Earthspark, it's that little orange hard-headed dinosaur. That's Jawbreaker once he gets his beast mode. But you sort of have it where Grimlock's trying to remain calm, and he sees that this guy, this young protoform looks up to him a lot. But Grimlock's also not trying to worry everybody. And the G1 bots, he can recognize that Grimlock's dealing with some shit. He's dealing with some, mental health issues, going berserk, like Wolverine with his berserker rage. So like Alita, RC, I think in some cases they notice it and they're like, "Hey Jawbreaker, how about you give, Grimlock some space? Stop fanboying and pestering him to give you tips about stuff and showing you how to fight." But eventually, in a sort of a silver lining sort of way, one of the times that Grimlock goes berserk around the Terrans, which is the protoforms, the new characters in Earthspark, he causes a cliffside to fall down, and it reveals some dinosaur fossils with some jawbreakers, drawn to, and scans as his alt mode. So I mean, he does kind of come to terms to eventually it. Now, they probably reset it in season 2 or whatever. And then, what was the other one? And then Beast Wars, specifically the Beast Wars Grimlock and the IDW, like Beast Wars, the Gathering and Ascendings comics. And apparently the website I used to use is down or not cooperating, so I can get the pages. But in that, like, when it's almost like the scene from Jurassic Park when you hear like the T-Rex is coming for the first time, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, oh god, crap!" All the Predacons except for Magmatron are like, "Oh man, that has to be, that might be Grimlock. He like from G1, and he got reformatted to a badass dinosaur. He's gonna tear us all up, oh man, we're all gonna die." Like, and they're all panicking, and like Magmatron's like, "I'm 3 dinosaurs in one, so I'll deal with them." And him and I mean, all the everybody else is like scared shitless and running away, like, "We're gonna die." And Grimlock literally, like, I know he gets the drop on someone, and everybody but Magmatron panics, and then him and Magmatron, but he forces Magmatron. You have to take advantage of being Magmatron can't beat him in his robot mode versus Grimlock in his dinosaur mode, and he had to go, treat dinosaurs on him to end up beating Grimlock. So, and that was written by Simon Furman. So you can't be like, "Yeah, Earth's one of those young whippersnapper writers writing fan fiction against the G1 characters." I was like, Simon Furman's been around the block more than a while, so.
Now, before we get to everyone else, RJ Eagle says, "Anthony, I need that Mirage. I saw him in the wild once and foolishly left him on the shelf, never seen him again."
Yeah, I had him ordered because I was like, he was my favorite character in Rise of the Beasts, the movie, so I was like, I want to get that one specifically.
And Mario says, "Because the original release of Breakdown from Legacy Evolution was just a partial remold of Wild, the robot mode was the only difference in back section of the car, the rest front Wild Rider."
I can parse that. The Breakdown didn't get his own tooling when they did the Legacy version just now. They retooled Wild Rider into him.
And Prime Killer says, "I love in the movie how he's a delusional 4-year-old puppy." And RG Eagle says, "Marvel Grimlock was the funniest, exactly as you described, Fear. He was power tripping."
Yeah, it's funny because Simon Furman wrote a lot of him because for a long time Bob Budiansky didn't use the Dinobots, so over in the UK, Simon Furman was like, "Oh, it's free real estate for me to tell my in-between stories." And then when Bob Budiansky finally brought him back, it was to have him go mad with power and be the weird, bad leader. So Simon Furman had to kind of just try to square it with what he'd been writing.
Nice. Mario says, and we're known the story of Breakdown being released, and what was the reason for that, according to the designer Mark Mayer, was the corporate asset Hasbro didn't allow him because of the budget.
Yeah, that's why he was a retool instead of a fully new figure.
And Prime Killer says, "In America and Japan, Starstream is still a B." Mario says, "You guys know the only figure of Grimlock I got was a Studio Series 86 liter class, and it's going to get reissued this year."
Yeah. Unless I haven't noticed some, I have a total of 9 Grimlocks here. That's...
Oh.
Jeez.
And RG Eagle says, "Do you guys think Marvel Comics captured his alt mode well as a tank on Cybertron, or do you think he should have had some robotic beast of some sort?"
I like it when he's a tank on Cybertron because they're just fully like, what is organic life? Something from like the very first couple issues that tends to not get talked about a lot is the Transformers initially think that the cars are Earth's native inhabitants, don't even recognize the people for a little bit.
Mhm.
And there's
But
the
you
original.
said he's a tank on Cybertron?
Yeah,
In
usually.
some forms, yeah.
Mhm.
Is he still called a Dinobot?
Yeah, they did something interesting in Dreamwave and IDW where he's still a Dinobot, but they spell it differently on Cyber
They
in
spell it
that.
with a Y?
Like
They spell it
Yeah,
with a Y?
DYNO.
Of
Damn it.
course.
Damn it, I was gonna roll with it. I was gonna roll with it.
Dynamics.
Yeah. No, Furman thought of that first.
Well,
So.
a dyne, like an Aerodyne or a Fluorodyne,
Yep.
those are cars that do special things.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to throw us over to
Dinobot. Yeah.
yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Now I'm going to throw us over to Toy Warp. The Grimlock that many of us were introduced. I know Mr. Magnus as well. What are your thoughts of G1 Grimlock, the toy, the character, and so forth?
I was kind of mad. I mean, after because I never saw in the comics, I never read, not got to read those issues. I didn't get to, every week. I didn't, or every month. I didn't get to the comic shop to buy a Transformer comic. So I was privy to that story later on. I'm kind of mad that we didn't get that in the G1 cartoon or something similar, something to draw out some character in Grimlock other than him just being a big lovable dumbass. Because that's all we got in the cartoon. And in season 3, he just kind of like what Prime Killer said. He just kind of turns into a dumb puppy that's comedy relief, which I think is really goofy. Even Greg Berger, when I met Greg Berger, Greg Berger said he wasn't the biggest fan of that.
In season 3, he became Jar Jar Binks.
Pretty much, yeah. He became the lovable mascot. Go on.
I was saying it's worth noting that like in Marvel he is supposed to be like a person of standard intelligence instead of like a dinosaur-brained person. He just talks weirdly for some reason in Marvel that they don't really explain. But the rest of the Dinobots don't even sound like that. So they're all supposed to be like normal guys of standard intelligence instead of what the show had going on.
Maybe that's where they got it for the what was that, the 4th Bay movie that they appeared in, and it made me so mad because they were getting chased by somebody, and a couple of the Dinobots turned around, transformed, and they said, "Let's hold this line," but he said it in the English accent, and I was like,
Yeah. I think that it's supposed to be Crosshairs talking in that scene because people have talked about that, but that the direction of it doesn't convey well that he's supposed to be the character talking, so it looks like the Dinobots said that.
My favorite Grimlock is the Grimlock from Fall of Cybertron.
Yeah,
if you've had the privilege of playing that game, Grimlock is probably the most fun character to play. It's like the more he gets mad, the more he gets to closer to transforming into his Dinobot mode. Nice. And just ripping ass. He's such a blast to play. You blast through this huge swarm of Insecticons, and it's so much fun. If you haven't played that game and you get to play as Grimlock, trust me, you need to go do it.
I should run through my 9 Grimlocks here real quick. Just now that I got them all on the ground in front of me. Here, give me the screen. I'll go fast. All right. So, Generation 2 Grimlock came out in 1993. This is a repaint of the G1 toy in blue. Pick this up at TFCon. Let's go chronologically. I think the next one would be animated Grimlock from like 2007, 2008 or so. His best thing is the fact that you can make his jaw open and close like this, so he can also host the show like Cheetor and Megatron do. All right, next up.
He looks like a pug with an underbite.
Yeah. Age of Extinction. I'm always going to hang on to this one because Jess bought it for me for my birthday, like really early in us being an item, so it has sentimental value, which is why I kept this movie guy around. Also, he also can talk. This is a pretty common gimmick with these guys. Okay, what came next chronologically? Oh, okay. Power of the Primes Grimlock. Kind of a buff-looking one, but he's a pretty straight G1 update. Here's his dino head. This is the one that can combine into Volcanicus. This was the first time the Dinobots could do that. That's why he's got like a combiner feet on his arms there. Next up, a little minifigure they did. Vinyl Grimlock from G.I. Joe versus Transformers, the Tom Scioli one. This is the perfect encapsulation of cartoon Grimlock. Yes, we're talking about Grimlock. Jess is making gestures at me from off camera.
You better not insult
Grimlock,
your
talk to her.
Transformer child.
Yeah. And then the next one would be the Masterpiece Grimlock, who is big and awesome and pretty much close to perfect.
They're all mine.
Yeah, they're all Jess's.
That's what I got when I went.
Yeah, that she actually married me for my collection of dinosaur Transformers. True story.
That tracks. That tracks. Jess, now we understand.
Mr. Magnus said, "Jess, now we understand."
We've been trying to figure it out for years.
It's Magnus. It's the combination of fire and water. So you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got three more here. All right. So this is the Kingdom figure that is an update of his Beast Wars design. Yes, he was in the Beast Wars toy line. He wasn't on the show, but they made a new figure of him that was a repaint of Dinobot. And even his tech specs was like, the original Grimlock has arrived in the Beast Wars. He was in some comics at one point. Also, this figure has yellowed to hell, like his shoulders and things.
Sucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad
I'm
enough
gonna-
that the original has GPS and then the
Yeah.
modern one has the yellowing.
Yeah,
Can't
the old
win.
one they did in Beast Wars, these gold parts were GPS prone, so he came to pieces. And now this one's all yellowed. Give him the peroxide treatment at some point, I guess. It's a good figure. It's just a shame that parts of him turned like that. Wow, what did I not put up here? Oh yeah, the mini Legacy Grimlock, the second one that could combine into Volcanicus. Kind of a chunky guy, but you know, when you're making a combiner at that scale, they need to be kind of chunkified.
You leave Saddam out of this.
And Mighty Number 9, the last one, the one that I just got, the Age of the Primes Grimlock, which is sort of bringing it back to the beginning because it's a homage to this one. And this is the Studio Series guy in these colors, which you know is like what somebody in the comments was talking about. They're re-releasing a Studio Series one. I prefer to get it in blue. And there's a wheelie on his shoulder because this was a movie figure. And that is my 9 Grimlocks. And like I said, I think he's the character I have the most of.
Jeez.
I'm sure that they'll make one because they've made one for the regular Studio Series and they've made one for the Shattered Glass Studio Series. But they should make a DNA upgrade kit for him, and Willie will transform when you put the upgrades on him.
Oh, nice.
Oh, interesting.
I don't got enough snacks in this fridge.
I mean, that looks like it would scale well with G1 wheelie.
And just a
think it would,
coincidence, since we did pick a Grimlock for this week's feature, that on the Children of Primus website in the bots reviews, Fear or Courage wrote a full review on Grimlock, the different versions of Grimlock, but specifically around the G2.
Yeah.
As
The
I was
opening
going
images
through-
were like, here's every other color scheme they released this tooling in, and here's why I didn't get any of them, and this was the first one I got.
No,
Yeah, I didn't get the yellow one either.
one thing I've got to say is,
It had enough stripes.
yeah, as you were taking the images of Wheelie, I'm like, it almost looks like Wheelie's twerking, and I'm like, twerking's got to go. It has to go.
He's impersonating Miley Cyrus with her no ass having
The
self.
back of his head looks frightened
Yes.
with the holes in it. Yeah, people didn't like that minifigure, but I was like, whatever. They threw it in. It's just a little extra. They obviously had like no budget to put it together.
Wow.
because they spent it all on making the main figure as huge as he could possibly be. Because he's a he's a big leader class figure compared to a lot of them. They were like, let's give him as much mass as we possibly can.
Now I'm going to throw this over to Mr. Magnus. So what say you of Grimlocks?
I sent you pictures. They're in your messenger.
All right, let me quickly get those pictures.
Oh, is it going to be a shrine of some sort?
No, my daughter cosplayed as Grimlock.
Oh yeah.
Oh, now you say this, I remember it.
Yes.
So this is my favorite version of Grimlock.
Understandably so.
Exactly.
She designed everything herself, except for the one embroidered patch. She ordered that.
There we go. We got the images.
And I was just checking out the wiki because I only really know one Grimlock, and that's from the G1 cartoon because I never read the comic books.
Mhm.
I like the idea of Grimlock being a intelligent threat. I want to read those books where he's got more brain power than a squid.
Yeah.
You'd
Oh,
like
that's
him
most of
being
the
like
comics.
Bane and
So,
Batman, where he has
But
both
this
brain and brawn.
this one paragraph here on Wiki says Grimlock is the leader of the Dinobots, a small but extraordinarily powerful strike squad. Grimlock himself is extremely strong and durable and is one of the few Transformers who can not only stand toe-to-toe with Optimus and Megatron, but actually give them a run for their money. Despite his strength and prowess, Grimlock continually struggles with his pronouns.
yeah. In Marvel, one day, without the narrative acknowledging it, he just started talking like the cartoon. They never explained it. Of course, the real reason was probably just brand synergy, but like,
Mhm.
and it was as soon as he became the Autobot leader too.
So that is one image. I'm saving all of the images.
I'm just gonna real quickly transform this guy. Something that I pointed this out in the review. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, this is more important. That is an awesome jacket. Oh, that's the Dinobot logo also. The Lightning Strike Coalition, it was called.
Getting all of the images so we can bring them up as we're speaking about them.
Yeah, I was just saying, because I was just transforming the new Grimlock here. One sort of interesting thing is you'll see a lot of Transformers have their transformations redesigned and re-engineered, and I noted this in my review of him. Pretty much every Grimlock, unless it's like the Beast Wars one where it's a whole different design, they all transform basically the same. Like, they've never really changed it at all. Like, the G1 toy kind of got it in one, so they pretty much all just do the same set of steps.
The War for
Anthony
Cybertron one
just
transforms
says
way
you need
different.
popcorn or cookies, or
Yeah.
you're gonna sleep on the couch. I might add that last part about the couch.
We have no popcorn or cookies, and that must be fixed. I mean, we can fix it, like, tomorrow.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Gotta go grocery shopping.
All right, so Magnus, explain this image.
Oh, it's just one of the patches on her sleeve. This is one of the things that she actually ordered. And it's just the other Dinobots plus himself. It was just something that she added to it. And then the button she made, she's got one of them little button things where you take a piece of art, put it on there, and snap the two halves together, and it makes a button out of it. And that's what that Grimlock King. It says, me Grimlock no kisser, me Grimlock King.
Cool. And there's this one.
Oh, that is an awesome jacket.
Yeah, and all of those spikes on it are steel. And they almost didn't let her wear it in.
Jeez.
Yeah, if I didn't know the people there, there was going to be an issue.
Oh, boy.
And melt them down. She said that Dinobots are all just a bunch of fire breathers. And she has a motto, like even in Magic, she was the Chandra the Pyromancer is the planeswalker that she portrayed as one of her other cosplays. And Chandra's quote is, everything has a melting point.
I like that.
It's funny because originally the
And
flamethrower thing was
that's the whole
yeah.
the whole
Originally, the
thing.
flamethrower thing was supposed to be Slag's ability only, but they didn't realize that it was supposed to be his, and so the show just wrote it as they can all breathe fire, and that's just kind of stuck ever since.
Okay.
Yeah, Slag, in his G1 packaging, it says Dinobot Flamethrower on the front.
Yeah,
Right.
That's where that
he's
comes
the one
from.
that's supposed to shoot the flame.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the comics, he's the only guy that shoots the flames, I think, and it's just the show like made a mistake, but then that just became the public conception of them all.
I hate the fact that I don't have her feet, but you can see right there,
okay.
right below her knees, those boots.
Uh-huh.
Those boots have like a 6-inch platform on them
Oh,
that have
boy.
teeth, like something Gene Simmons would wear in Kiss.
nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Now, the girl standing behind her is a real good friend of mine. That's Karina. They're actually the same height, so that tells you how much
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
the lift is on those boots.
okay. That's cool. That's very cool.
I know that she really gets into her cosplays. Like, to walk around in this outfit, whenever she gets home from work, she would put those boots on and she'd go up and down mom and dad's stairs, just to get used to the feel, so that every step
Oh,
is
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah, 'cause
the
you
Chandra
Sorry.
cosplay weighs 90 pounds.
Oh,
And it's stainless steel chainmail, and I handmade every link on it and put it together for her. She was 14 when she wore that.
oh, that's
She
very
would come
cool.
home from school, put that on, and she would walk the 2-mile path around the farm. So that when the con came up, she put that on. She's just walking around easily, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're plastic," and she's like, "No, it's not plastic. Just pick up the skirt." And they're like, "Oh my god!" And she's out there dancing. Yeah.
No, RJ Eagle says, does anyone own a Diaclone Grimlock? Was any changes made to that toy versus the Hasbro toy?
Probably
I do not have
because...
a Diaclone, but I have the original G1, which is what
and the
it would
original
be.
G1 has Takara underneath of it still, so...
Yeah. And it has the cockpit on it. That's what his back was.
Yeah, you can see it right here on the G2 one. It's the little panel you can actually flip up.
Yeah.
And you can put a
Yeah, that's actually a
minifigure in
seat.
there so you can ride
That's
them.
a seat for the Diaclone pilot to sit on.
Right.
Yeah. There's if you have any minifigures from the Star Wars Action Fleet or the Micro Galaxy Squadron, you can fit them in there because they're the same scale. I've done that before, but I don't have any on hand at the moment.
Go ahead. Toy Warp has his.
Yeah, I'm looking to make sure it still says Takara underneath of it. I would imagine it does.
But at the
I
very
think it
least,
says
they
it
added
inside the
Autobot
foot when you flip
stickers.
them open.
Because, those were a new invention of when they were imported over.
Sent him as a question for RJ. Gotten any Turtles of Grayskull, Reptile Wars? Which I think he did answer.
He did finally.
Okay.
But set them in the Turtles cartoon, the one that was on the first one that came out. What were the
one
little
in Mutant Mayhem universe or the original one?
the one with Krang, the one with Krang in it?
What is
Toei
What were the
animation
little
one from the
robot?
80s.
What were the little robot chomp things?
Mousers.
Mousers. That's what that animated Grimlock's face reminds me of.
That makes sense.
If
yes.
Anthony will pull that back up and make his mouth open and down, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Mousers.
Now I kind of want to get like
Yep.
a
Mouser,
like a mouser for
I don't actually
cheap,
know what the Mouser sounded
and
like.
like customize it to look like Grimlock now.
Chomp, chomp, chomp. That's what they sounded like.
Which in
Well, I
the
was wanting to call them Chomp Chomps, and I was like, that's not right. That's from Mario.
well, I remember in the original video game, you had to like hit the little mousers in the original Turtles video game.
Yep. I've got that in the
Yeah,
bar.
that's mostly what I know him from.
Cool. And Mario's saying, speaking of talking about the discussion of Grimlock, do you guys know that one for the new Cyberworld series is using the Optimus Prime figure from Rescue Bots, where he transformed to fit aesthetically?
Oh yeah, I know they're making a big Grimlock for the new Cyberworld line. I don't know about the Rescue Bot stuff. However to interpret that.
And Prime Killer says, Grimlock's pronouns are me/Grimlock.
That's true. It's the same regardless of continuity, basically.
And RJ says, also didn't one of Grimlock's figures had a light up feature with the sword, and I think it was a Fall of Cybertron game one, and yes, Toy Warp, he's awesome in the game.
The Masterpiece one that I showed off earlier, it's in the wrong mode for me to demonstrate, but he did have a light up fist so that you could make his sword light up.
Cool. And Mario says, then something to say, you guys, since I'm proud of it when I've gotten all the Dinobots for the Studio Series 86 line, like the whole team itself completed.
Yeah, it took them a while, but they did all 5 of them in the Studio Series, and they were all big leader class figures, the same size as this guy, so it's quite a large, impressive collection if you get them all.
Mm-hmm.
You have the slag.
So on the inside of his leg here is where it says it, and the first thing it says is something in Japanese. I don't know if it says Takara in Japanese or not, but it says something in Japanese, and then underneath that it says Hasbro. It took me a minute to freaking read it because man, it's tiny.
It says
Let me
you
see what
think
it
it's
says on
it says it's a translation. You think it's Takara.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they changed that a little bit on the G2 one here. I guess they changed enough so that it says copyright 1994 Hasbro Inc. All rights reserved, made in China. Doesn't mention Takara on it at all.
That's where
It's
mine says
definitely not going
81.
to show up. Yeah, same spot, but like it's definitely not going to show up on camera. But I just checked it. But this was so many years later that maybe this was like, they changed it when they refreshed the tooling as they would have had to.
Yeah, RG says we better get a repaint of Studio Series Swoop as well to the toy color.
Yeah, that's an interesting. So the Dinobots were supposed to have a unified color scheme. They were supposed to all have red chests and gray, and that's what the toys look like. Swoop, for some reason, the animators, I guess, had the Diaclone figure for reference, which is why he has a blue chest on the cartoon instead. So most modern Swoops are based on the cartoon, so they give him a blue chest, but once in a while they'll do a red Swoop to go with the other Dinobots, since they were supposed to have like a unified color scheme that, like so many other things, the cartoon goofed and then everybody just ran with it.
Yes. Now, as before I guess we'll probably be rounding up on our Grimlock discussion. Two things I wanted to mention, actually a few things, but Clive Revell, who was the voice of, in the Transformers, we know him as the voice of Kickback for the 84 to 86 and in the 86 movie, but he was also the voice of the Jetfire in Revenge of the Fallen in the video game in 2009, where he has passed away. And I will get an image of him. Actually, I do have an image of him already here. Let me share his image.
And if we don't marvel at voice actors enough, man, I'm telling you what, the voice of Kickback also being the voice of Alfred Pennyworth from Batman the Animated Series from the 90s.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that was his most famous role. I mean, like to
I did
go
not know that.
from Kickback to Alfred was, God, you got to respect these guys. That's just
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Respect
and
to
looking at
you.
his at his resumes, there's a lot of, I mean, him being a bit of an older actor, we identify with him in shows, as we were growing up, but then he was in a lot of shows that our parents would have watched, that we kind of would have watched when we were kids. So I mean, he was a guest in Columbo, Heart to Heart, Dynasty, Magnum PI, The Love Boat, Remington Steele. So that's all the shows we grew up as kids. But then he was also in The Empire Strikes Back in 1980, in Newhart, MacGyver, Murder She Wrote, Dear John, The Fall Guy, Star Trek The Next Generation, Wizards and Warriors, and Babylon 5. And then were mentioned in the Batman and the Animated Series. So it's quite an impressive resume.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta see who he was in some of these shows.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see who he was in TNG.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
You must
so
think
many,
of the same thing.
yeah. I mean, so many of these guys, they play an alien, they get a bunch of stuff glued onto their face. I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't recognize this guy,
Exactly.
depending on who he was and when.
So now I do have to switch over to I guess it would be somewhat of a public service announcement. The image on the screen is a rapper from Toronto, Canadian rapper / MC named Bishop. Unfortunately, he did pass away today, and him and we did work on the Clockwork Orange, the hip hop musical version of it back in 2004. It was actually the director from LA that came to Toronto and said, I want to do a Clockwork Orange stage play, but he wants to make it a hip hop version. So he was the lead role in the play. Now, a part of why I'm mentioning him is he found out that he had colon cancer just not too long ago. And within Canadian standards, they mention that men should have their colons checked for cancer when they're 50. Because he found out about this like earlier on, because he was only in his 40s, he said that really the standard should be in their 40s. Researching it, I think the US, they standardize checking from 45, whereas Canada does it from 50. So in a sense, with him passing away, he kind of proved that point that it should be, like a decade or two earlier for us to check into that and not wait until we're 50, because by that time, it may or may not already be an issue, and then it's kind of too late to find out about that. So we do send condolences our condolences to the friends and families of Clive, and also to the friends and family and the Toronto hip hop community, which I was a part of. And Professor D, we were also in that production. So condolences to Bishop and his family as well, where he's left a wife and 2 young children.
It's a very important thing to say.
And the one thing about it too is with him, with Bishop being an advocate of it, it's interesting because for myself, the minute I turned 50, the Ministry of Health for Canada sent a reminder basically saying, happy birthday, you're 50, make sure to go get checked out. What's interesting is it opens up a can of worms, because to get checked out for free, you have to wait a year, but then they offer the option of paying somewhere to get it checked earlier. And I'm like, well, that's a little bit of you put someone in like a rock and a hard place there.
Yeah, no kidding. Jeez. Well, either way, it's an important thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And RJ Eagle says, oh my gosh, I had no clue Bishop passed, and yeah, I just found out today. I remember him. He's very known in the hip hop scene in Toronto. Gosh, R.I.P. So, I mean, and part of it too is he was a battle rapper. So essentially, not just MCs who write stuff on paper. Like, you put them on a stage and say, okay, point over to that, that light socket and start rhyming about it, and they're on top of it.
Yeah. sad to hear, and it's very important that we understand that we understand what we need to do to take care of ourselves.
This is true. So now, before we round up for the evening, as we did speak about Grimlock, any other upcoming things that anyone wants to mention before we end the stream for the evening?
You all won't get this, but Sedum will. There's a pre-order up at BBTS for Show Tucker and Nina Chimera.
Oh, I watched Full Metal Alchemist.
You want to
so I know who
become
you're
the
talking
ultimate
about.
hate? You want to become the ultimate hate? Oh
FMA.
my gosh! And it's phenomenal. And I'm like, oh my god!
Wait, is it actually
why?
the
Here, I'll
thing?
send it to spin real quick.
Okay.
Oh, Bill, there was a few years ago, Crunchyroll did like the character with the most deaths, which was the Lord Zeno from Dragon Ball Super, but still Tucker was still the most hated anime character still.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just because of that personal part of it. He made it personal by doing what he did. That is just messed up.
So those of you that don't know, this is from Full Metal Alchemist: The Brotherhood, and well, actually it's in both halves. It's in regular Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. But this guy was under a government contract to make a chimera. He had to bond two living creatures together, and he kept failing, and so he bound his daughter to their dog. And that's what that is right there. That's the combination of his own daughter to the family dog.
And they also implied that the reason his wife died like a year or two ago is because he did the same experiment, tried the same experiment on his wife.
It was an interesting story because it was about a guy sort of pushed to the edge by his need to keep his to maintain his way of living. Yeah. that is like that's a horrible gag gift for like an anime fan, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I kind of
imagine if you
picked up
gave
on
that
story.
to someone who's having their first kid and their first kid's gonna be a daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no.
It's like, I know you're gonna be give it to them, be like, whatever you do, you're never gonna be as much of a bad father as this character, so always remember that. At least you're not this guy.
At least you're
I had
not
a question
that
for
guy.
Mr. Magnus.
Yes, sir.
Your cats are not allowed upstairs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I thought about that. I didn't want to just be able to spend 10 minutes in the gravity well and leave when we come up for the wedding, because I'm definitely allergic to cats. So I'd like to be able to continue breathing while I'm in the gravity well.
Oh, I got you.
Suck the oxygen out of the room already, so you probably can't breathe because of the gravity well. Well, among his many talents, Mr. Magnus can just breathe in a vacuum, so that's how he survives in there. Why not? He can do everything else.
RJ said, dang, what's up with that dog?
Go watch this television series Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood for the answer. It's a very good show. It's worth watching.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite. It was my favorite, or my first cosplay. When we did that, I went as Hughes, General Hughes, and there was a girl there as Envy. And she just followed me around the damn con. Envy's the one that kills Hughes in the show. And she just followed me around the con. Every time I turned around, she's standing there looking around a post. I'm like, God damn, go away.
It's for the sake of people snapping photos.
Yeah. But I'm a bigger guy and I wear glasses, and that was Hughes did, and I made a really nice uniform, the full blue uniform with the dual lapels.
Yeah.
And then I just had a name badge up here that said Hughes, like that, and I had my command pins.
RJ has a quick question, and there's one quick thing I'm gonna try for us to fly through before we're done for the evening. Um, there we go. So RG says, also, how do you think Grimlock should be portrayed in the future going forward with Skybound or other media?
I like smart Grimlock more than dumb Grimlock, just because of Marvel and IDW and stuff. Maybe calling him smart Grimlock's a bit of a misnomer because he's still like a like a tough guy, right? And more of a thinking with his fists guy instead of an intellectual. But it's more interesting when he has a brain behind what he's doing.
You like
I think
him as
I
a
think it
jock?
would be
his
awesome
speech
to
pattern.
see.
Yeah, because that's
I
pretty much
think
been
that
a
would be awesome to
comics-only
see
thing.
for me anyway, because I've never seen him other than when he created Computron.
Yeah, Grimlock's
Yeah.
new brain.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny how we overlooked that. Grimlock creating Computron.
It was
He
interesting to
figures
hear
out-
Greg Berger just basically do a chilled out voice of Grimlock in that episode.
Yeah,
I love the fact that even when he was intelligent, he still said, "And me, Grimlock." Yeah, I think that would be a cool thing to see, even in anime or in print, either one, because Grimlock and the Dinobots are a force to be reckoned with, regardless. Imagine if they had some brain power to go behind that brute force.
It is true. That is true.
Little extra tidbit too. When I met Greg Berger, he was basically anywhere where they would be, Robeson would be selling the Robeson Grimlock. They were paying him to be there. That's how I got to meet him, because Robeson happened to be at that particular con selling the Robeson Grimlock, and he said he literally got to travel the world in selling this thing and doing autographs and stuff.
That Roboson just has infinity money to promote their extremely expensive robot toys.
Apparently.
they literally just keep Greg Berger on retainer. Apparently.
Mm-hmm. Wonder if they'll do the same thing with Dan Gilvezan with the
why
Bumblebee
not?
I just saw, which looks goofy as hell. What's up with the spare tire? That looks dumb.
It's a whole different kind of transformation engineering, because it's not enough that the transformation works. He has to be able to do it while he's supporting himself, and it's all self-sustained. So it's a whole other engineering challenge that could lead to goofy shortcuts like that.
So before we end the stream for the evening, and before we mention what everyone's doing, we have we must jump onto one of our other topics.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, you know what?
Because
Surprisingly,
it was on
I'm
comics.
that's why. Because I'm finding that when you scroll through their website, there's two writers that kind of, I guess, have been the main ones for the last while. The titles for one of them tends to make sense. So I'm like, no, these kind of seem to be okay. But there's another writer on there, and I'm like, okay, he's just writing for the sake of writing. But I'll go
Just
through.
hit that deadline.
You gotta hit that deadline. So this one is 15 most obscure Transformers in the comics, and I figured I'd throw this over to you guys since you guys know more of the comics. But quickly looking through, there's a couple they mention, and I'm like, those aren't really obscure. So
Yeah.
again, who knows what their research was? But let's
You gotta grade this on a curve. What qualifies as obscure to?
Yeah,
John
and which
Q.
comics
Public
are they
would-
referring to?
Exactly. So we won't take too long on this. But number 15 on their scale is Prima is the first Transformer Primus created, and Prima and the 13 were made stewards of Cybertron. Well, what say you guys?
We can't see the article if we're supposed to be looking at it.
Let's see.
But yeah, I'm like, I know who Prima is. In fact, Prima is getting a toy in this first wave of Age of the Primes because he's one of the 13 like the Fallen is.
Oh, okay. There's a degree of notoriety for being the first Transformer that Prima made in the Marvel continuity. After Primus was imprisoned, his astral body and that of Unicrons and asteroids, he made a new body for himself in the form of a planet, namely Cybertron. Prima was born from the world itself and was given the ability to create more Transformers.
Yeah, he was on the cartoon, sort of, retroactively, during Five Faces of Darkness, when we see that like long lineage of people. Later on, they declared one of them was Prima, and the Age of the Primes toy is based on that Sunbow cameo.
Oh,
See if I
okay.
can find a picture of it on my phone.
Number 14, Borbit is an obscure side character.
Orbit?
Borbit.
Oh, Borbit. Oh, he's from IDW.
And briefly seen in Marvel.
Yeah. Here is Sunbow. Oh, my phone's not on. There we go. Here's Sunbow Prima. Retroactively, they didn't design this guy to be him, but originally he was. But they declared it to be this guy later.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, that's Prima in the cartoon, according to 21st Century revisions. He was like, oh yeah, he was that guy all along. There we go. Now I can see the article, albeit in a tiny window.
Oh, actually, and there we go.
There we go. Bridge to Nowhere. Oh, okay. So Borbit is a kind of a high than die type character. Oh yeah, later in IDW. See, that's what I know him from. He went silent. It went black again.
Oh, that is weird. Let's see.
I could see it on the broadcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think Soundwave is up to his antics then.
Soundwave doesn't want us to read this article.
No. that's the failure right there. Soundwave said no. You guys aren't reading it this week.
Wow.
Well,
Maybe save that until it works.
Yeah, we'll save that until it works.
Because it has my attention. I want to see what they consider obscure, and I want to see who's like number one.
Okay, so on that note.
Article that it doesn't even work.
Exactly.
Yeah. It broke our computer.
Took a cyanide pill as soon as
I don't know. I think that was an Anthony problem because I could see it on the broadcast.
Interesting. RJ has also very last question we forgot. Do you think he should be part of a Gestalt, Volcanicus? What are your thoughts on the whole combiner idea? I don't like it.
Oh, finally, RJ, I love you because I hate that idea. Yeah, the whole idea with combiners is they have to work together to make the big guy move, and the Dinobots aren't smart enough to do that. So, no combine for you.
Well, I found in Power to Primes, they were quite impressive in terms of, because I guess how they portrayed, them being like dinosaur beast kind of things, but then you combine them and now you've got this scarier beast where even Predaking is kind of like, a little kind of sidestepping there for a minute because no one else really has that power that Predaking has. I would say probably Piranacon, but him not being featured in the cartoon, Predaking kind of has his own lane when it comes to a combined beast.
You say that's Power of the Primes?
Power of the Primes.
I never
I
heard
would
of
say
it.
out of the Prime Wars trilogy, that the Power of the Prime, it was the worst of the Tree toy line, but it was the best of the Tree shows. It's almost like the Transformers equivalent of the Fellowship of the Ring, with just the mix of characters that they have working together
So what? They just
against
walk the whole time?
Overlord and
Sometimes they roll because they can transform.
Well, it'd be more exciting than walking. I can tell you that. I never could get through I tried watching that movie 3 times. I fell asleep every single time to just them walking. Like, holy crap.
I think the worst one, ironically, whereas Titans Return was the best of the Tree toy lines, it was the worst of the Tree cartoons because it was the most boring ass kaiju battle I have ever seen in my life. It's like, is there any Cybertronians in this city that Tripticon, and I can't even remember who someone that maybe it was Fortress Maximus or whoever Windblade woke up.
Yeah, it was Fort Max.
And Mario says, speaking of Robosen, do you know that the next character they're doing from the main 7 apparently is Devastator that somehow was leaked?
Oh yeah, we saw a patent for a Robosen Devastator that's like somehow automatically combines.
Ooh.
It's going to be interesting to see how they pull the technology off on that.
Yeah, like I've seen, them talking about it. I'm just like, how are they going to pull off a combining Devastator?
Okay, I
Like, I'm
want to
still
see
not-
that. I don't want to see the price tag.
Yeah, it's about like I'm not paying $7 billion, but I want to see how they pull that off.
Is it going to be 6 separates that also transform and then also transform to combine?
That's
We
what I'm
don't
wondering.
know that.
And then
We
will
just-
they combine on their own, or will they transform into the leg and you got to snap the leg together? And then will they transform into the other leg and you got to snap the leg together?
All unknowns.
This
The
is
patent-
this is going to be interesting. And for a nice closing piece, I just sent you a link there, Spin. We have a coming soon Show Z store, Planet X, new masterpiece Grimlock. And he's like a combination of all those Grimlocks that Anthony showed just a minute ago.
Oh, now who made this one?
Planet X.
Oh, okay. That's the other thing. There has been so many third-party Dinobots and third-party Grimlocks. It's just the same way they always love to make Constructicons. Just every company makes Dinobots. So there's like 7 million versions of Grimlock by third-party character makers.
And isn't
And he's
there
only $313 Canadian.
Oh,
Only.
Canadian.
only?
Oh, okay, so you can pick them up for like 50 American bucks then. It's such a tired joke, but I like making it because it always gets laughs.
But sadly it's true. That's the problem.
Yeah. This I think this is IDW Comics Grimlock. Yeah, oh yeah. Like you look at his face.
Ooh.
That's Nick Roche's version of him that he drew in his comics. Because he drew him kind of
Isn't
cartoony
the
like
isn't there a reissue of Grimlock through like Temu or something too?
that. I mean,
There's the
wouldn't surprise
G1
me.
reissues.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm
The
we don't have our
bootleg ones.
expert rip-off artist.
I was going to say
Orlati, on
Orlati's
tonight.
Orlati's not here.
Yeah,
He can
we
tell us
don't have
about
a resident rip-off artist. So
Resident rip-off artist. It's interesting between the two Grimlocks there.
Yeah, I don't know who the other one is even. Just some over-designed samurai thing. But yeah, the one on the right, that is pure IDW Grimlock.
Nice.
he looks really good in robot mode. I
Mm-hmm.
don't buy new
Yeah.
stuff because I ain't got nowhere to put it.
Oh, that's always a struggle. Got it used to the Grimlock face on the Planet X one. Yeah.
Mhm. That is a nice Grimlock.
His story in the latter part of IDW's comics is that he was captured and experimented on by Shockwave, kind of like in Fall of Cybertron. So
Yep.
he doesn't have any memories anymore, and he doesn't have his mind. Like initially, he's basically like an infant mentally, but he's still really dangerous because he's Grimlock.
Uh-huh.
And a group of Decepticons called the Scavengers find him. And this is after the war has already ended, so they're like, we don't know what to do with ourselves. So they just start going on like adventures as mercenaries trying to get rich and survive, and now they have Grimlock there with them as like their muscle, even though he's not there in the head. And then by the end of the series, he gets his memory back, and he's just like, I'm not gonna scrap you guys because I'm genuinely grateful that you took me in and like helped me recover this whole time.
Hmm.
Now let's go kill those guys. That's the type of story this is.
RJ says, I gotta get used to that Grimlock face on the planet X1.
That is Nick Roche's art straight up. That's what it looked like from the comic page into plastic.
Nice. Sunbach Arts, what do you have coming up for the week?
Trying to think. I know the last 2 weeks of that sewing class got pushed back to these next 2 Wednesdays, so hopefully I'll get that finished up. Don't know what I'm doing next, drawing stuff wise. Let me grab that drawing quick.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good coloring.
Still want to do maybe some subtle shading on it, but even like the original stuff that's referencing didn't have much shading to it, so I'm not in a rush to do anything more with it for now. I did a bunch of photos yesterday, some TMT stuff and some gotcha stuff. So I need to post those before I run out of room on my phone. Then there's some stuff I want to try taking pictures of with my camera, just knowing what. I found some new spots to take some photos, so whenever I get the weather permits, I'm going to try to go to this one spot to have some very TMT friendly location that I can actually walk into.
Cool. And then Mr. Magnus, over to you. What say you for the upcoming week?
Not much. I gotta hang the sign. Gotta hang the new sign. Oh, you didn't see this toy work. So I have Fallout stuff all throughout the bar too.
You have what stuff?
Fallout, Vault Tech
Vault Tech.
from the video
okay.
game Fallout.
It's not a racing game I don't play. But it looks cool though. Yeah, I've never played it, and the TV series didn't make any sense to me.
That's because you didn't play the game. It made sense to everybody else that played it.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I know it's a super popular franchise.
Oh, and the girl that plays the lead in that, she's in a series called Yellow Jackets. Oh, holy smokes. Whoever the writer for that thing is has got something wrong in his brain.
Like, I didn't know where you were going with that.
Oh my gosh. We've been watching it. We call it Psychopath because there's 2 girls in it that are just complete freaking psychopaths in it.
Nice.
I don't know if this is an endorsement of it or not.
Oh, it's just good enough that you got to keep watching it.
Okay.
Going to a convention,
It's really
meeting
bad.
Going, what is wrong with you, sir?
Bad. Yeah, it's really, really bad.
Like you feel dirty watching it.
It's a group of high school girls won the state championship in soccer.
Okay.
And on their way to nationals, their plane crashes.
Oh.
And it's kind of like that story. What was the Australian rugby team or something?
Alive.
The true story event. The movie was called Alive. It's kind of like that, but there's some outside forces, like some mystical frickin' nature demons or some shit, fucking with these people.
This is like a Western property, a Japanese property. I've seen some Japanese series that's like that.
No, this is all in the U.S.
Oh God.
Toy
Yeah,
Warp.
it's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
Wow. Toy Warp, over to you.
I don't know if I can follow that up. Damn. Over on Toy Warp Vintage Reviews, I ran into a problem. My history of the Transformers is missing a page, and since the print is so tiny, it's missing a crap ton of information. So I'm
No.
basically gonna have to like rewrite it myself, I think. So that's not going to be coming up anytime soon. However, over on the Cruisers Motorsports channel, I did the fourth and final review on the final Bandit movie from the 1990s. And that is up for your viewing enjoyment now.
Nice. And Fear of Courage, what say you?
Oh, okay, well, first of all, my Grimlock review is already up there, but we looked at that earlier in the episode over on Children of Primus news and reviews. And I am working. The reason I showed off the Fallen last session was because I'm taking photos of him because he's going to be my next subject. I am once again going to put an asterisk beside this when I say hopefully it will be out by Friday, maybe not. And in this case, the reason is because he's a complicated figure with a lot going on, and getting photos of everything and writing about anything is a bit more extensive than I would for somebody like Grimlock, who's pretty straightforward. Excellent figure, though, so eventually we will talk about him, hopefully on Friday.
He looks really good, too. I'm glad I got that one.
Oh, yeah, no, he rules. Like I said, somehow he's uncompromised, and usually there's at least one category where you're like, this is what they had to sacrifice to make the other parts of him good. But in this case, they, like, hit all the quadrants somehow. I don't know how they swung it, but they did.
Nice.
I'll be interested to see if they continue that quality, because it is the wave one. And
Yeah.
stuff normally, wave one tends to be, they present their best foot forward, and as they go on, because, you know, the shops stock on the later waves less than wave one, they start kind of, you know, cutting corners with the
Oh,
later
yeah.
I wasn't
waves.
planning on
so-
getting any of the other 13 primes, and, you know, I'm still not, because space and cash, but the Fallen is doing a lot to sell me on the other 13 if they're all, like, of this level of quality.
That's true.
So that's certainly something that's in my mind.
Well, I thank you guys for hanging out with us. I thank everyone in the comments. And like and subscribe to the channel, like the videos, subscribe to the channel, and check us out on all of the social medias. And also support us on our Patreon. We do have that set up. So as we say at the end of every stream, until all are one.
Till all are one.
That was kind of
We now return you to